Welcome back, everybody, to Heal Yourself Naturally. My name is Nicole Dromi. I am your host, and I'm joined by Chava Levy and Sarah Woods Kender, our wonderful healers. Today, we'll be discussing women's hormones, and specifically, we'll be discussing puberty. Our next three consecutive podcasts will be all about women's hormones, but we thought we should break it down to, three different parts. One being puberty, another one being fertility, and lastly, menopause, everybody's favorite subject. We as women have to, it's like the ticking time bomb. We're dreading it. It's all coming, but don't worry. We're going to have everything covered so that you don't have to dread that moment that it does come. And we will also be discussing various parts of puberty and leading up to it. Right now, we want to basically start at the beginning when our hormones kick in as women and what to expect. What do we signs that we typically fear that we shouldn't fear at all, and what to do with it. So I wanted to talk about first and foremost the fact that we're seeing society and women today, or young girls today, get their periods much sooner than we did in the past. And that's a big deal. Nobody really talks about it. It's just a case. It's like, oh, now kids are getting their periods when they're 9, or, and it's something that's not normal. But we want people to understand why that's happened. We have a lot of factors that go into, why does something like that happen to us? And I want to discuss it further with our healers. And Chava, let's start with you today and give some of our viewers some insights on why do girls get their periods so much sooner nowadays than when we used to?
Well, because we are messing up with the hormones. We are messing on the hormones because now we have so much other things that disturb the hormonal balance, and that basically comes from food. The food is a very big, I would say, plays one of the most important roles, because what we eat. So if we eat chicken since a very young age, that's been injected with the hormones, or you have an eggs that's been also given antibiotics that also might contain hormonal disturbance, and so on, and even start with a simple thing like a baby formulas, right? That's what all the basically what's causing the problem. The problem is starts with our food, and the food is so toxic, so we always have to look the main core of the problem, and that's for me is a diet. It's which is plays the major part, and that's why we see what we see right now, what is happening. The girls are having problems. It's not just girls, as well as the boys, but we are focusing on the girls. Actually could be
Correct.
puberty for the boys and the girls, right? Not they're both are suffering in that case, yes. And it's very important to really look into the diet, because this is for me is the main thing. And the other things that obviously, that if we look outside, the toxins that are outside, even just the simple clothing, the materials that we put on our body can cause hormonal imbalance. And then water that we drink, it's another big part. So I can go over and over, but that's the basic, that as soon we actually come to the world, we've been given so much hormone disturbance that really causing us those imbalances that later are pop out, or either through through the hormone imbalances, and but yes, but that's the main cause, stomach issues and so on. But that's the main thing: food
Good.
and toxicity around us.
Okay. Sarah, what's your point of view?
My point of view is xenoestrogens and hormonal toxins like pesticides, herbicides, insecticides are all, they have a hormone effect on our bodies. They mimic hormones, just like the plastics mimic hormones in our bodies, and covers, receptors in our bodies. And I think that, among other things, but mostly that is driving the early puberty in our kids. That's how I see it. We've also heard a little bit here and there about atrazine, which is another component of the sides, right? The insecticides, herbicides, pesticides in our environment, and atrazine can actually as well mess around with hormones and instigate, different biological processes that wouldn't be normal. Of course, there's a lot of modern issues that we have ascribed as normal now
Right.
because it's just seen so often, but it's not normal. And so that's what
It's our new normal, right? It's our new
it's
normal.
our new normal. So
Yeah.
it's just like what Hava said, it's this toxin overload. And we also see it with the HPV vaccine. We see not just early puberty in some girls, but a dysfunction in the cycles
And
and
now it's given to boys as well, which is a whole other topic that
right.
we're going to speak about men's hormones as well in one of our podcasts, but it's just something to think about for parents who are even thinking of injecting their kids with something like that, you're doing a lot more harm than anything good. So it's something to take into big consideration. The HPV vaccine, there's a lot of white papers and notes that you can go ahead and read on your own, but we don't recommend that for our children or even young adults whatsoever. And that's something that can definitely mess with your hormones or will mess with your hormones. Absolutely. Not can, it will.
Yeah, and I
And
just
so
want to mention
All
too,
vaccines
yeah,
also.
all vaccines, but HPV tends to be pretty toxic. But just on this whole early menstruation and puberty, in particular for girls, is associated with dysfunctions like PCOS. Now, PCOS, if you've heard of that, is polycystic ovarian syndrome, and not only is just quote unquote early puberty associated with that, but so is HPV vaccine. So
right.
there's overlap. There's, sometimes things may be correlated and not being the cause of it, but there's a lot of layers to this issue. And I just wanted to point that one out too, because the research I've done, early puberty isn't good for a lot of reasons. And mainly it's associated, not mainly, but for one, it's associated with PCOS, which causes fertility issues down the line.
Right. Okay, so let's say you both have a client that comes in, either the person themselves or is a daughter of someone who is going through puberty, whether it be early or not, right? There's a lot of signs that come up as a woman when puberty kicks in, whether it be weight gain, acne, mood swings, um, sweating. So there's a lot of things that happen to our body. It's an overload of hormones. It takes a while for the body to adjust before the period comes or when our first period comes. What are some of the things you would suggest in addressing those key issues, or if you have any other issues that you'd like to address? Maybe just tell us one and then a solution, an herbal solution, a lifestyle solution, lifestyle change solution. Sarah, what's your opinion on one or more of those things?
But just in general, someone starting puberty.
Someone starting puberty, yeah. I mean,
Um, well, right away, I would suggest every woman, no matter if they're young girls or whatever, just drink red raspberry leaf tea. Red raspberry leaf is probably my favorite in regards to not only the slight hormonal effect it has, it's not a super hormonal herb, but what it really does is it tones the uterus. And I don't think, when I was younger, and I didn't realize how off my cycles really were, and in the last couple of decades since I've been doing red raspberry leaf, and what I've suggested other people do as well, is it tones the uterus, and we don't realize that we have a boggy uterus. Like it's almost like it. When I say boggy uterus, it's like it's a water organ, right? And it shouldn't hold more than, just the amount from 1 month. You should get rid of all the liquid that's in there, and then it accumulates through the next month. And I find that most women aren't excreting all the liquid out of their uterus every month. So then that it kind of creates what I call a boggy uterus. So red raspberry leaf tea or extract or encapsulations, it really doesn't necessarily matter how you take it, but it really helps set a young girl up for just really good cycles for the rest of their life. And we can talk about good, bad, or indifferent in regards to cycles are, but red raspberry leaf is by far my favorite herb for any female at any stage, and especially so puberty.
I totally have to agree. And side note, for those who don't know, it's actually a very tasty tea. So yeah, it's really pleasant. Yeah, it's really pleasant to drink. And how many cups would you say, if you're drinking it daily, you probably don't have to do a large quantity of it in order, if it's something that's part of your lifestyle, right? A cup or two a day.
Yeah, that's it. A cup or two a day, and I'm usually it's a nice teaspoon of it. It's kind of a fluffy leaf, so we're putting a teaspoon that it kind of almost look like a tablespoon, but it's a fluffy teaspoon in
Yeah.
an 8-ounce warm water. Steep it for 15 minutes and drink that. And I just suggest people do that at least once a day. But if that becomes hard, then I would at least do it during your cycle because it's
Yeah.
not only going to help squeeze out the uterus, but it's going to actually help with cramps too. It is my number one for cramps by far.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then it is also really tasty iced for
Yeah.
anybody who's wondering. I drank quite a lot of it during my pregnancies. That's also something we'll talk about in our next podcast. But there's that stigma that you shouldn't be drinking it during the entire pregnancy, which is totally, you know,
Yeah.
don't Google it, guys, because it's all false. But
Oh, it
yeah,
says
right,
you shouldn't drink so many really good herbs during pregnancy. And I just,
right.
like, what? Where do you get this? You can't drink nettles during pregnancy? What?
Because they don't want us to feel
It is,
good.
and the
Right?
blood
Hopefully
building.
this whole censorship thing is being changed, anybody who's following politics right now. So we're really excited about that. We're hoping that you're going to actually get some credible information in the future, but we're here to deliver it to you. So red raspberry leaf, check. I think everybody should have it, regardless if you're going through puberty or not, right? A woman should be drinking this tea. It's also really rich in vitamins and minerals, and it's very good for your body, strengthens the blood, right? And then really good for strengthening the uterus, like you said. Chava, what's one thing, let's say, someone comes in. So one of the big signs of puberty in girls is acne, right? They start to get acne. It's something that happens. What do you believe is the cause of that? And what would you do? What would you tell a client in order to help remedy that?
Okay, so you start with acne. I wrote here a few notes, just to mention that. First of all, when we start our discussion, the first thing we said, oh, it's a buildup of a toxicity, and that's why the girls are getting the period at the younger age. But I want to look at this as a good sign, in a way, as a body, as a self-healing machine. So everything, whatever is happening in the body is for the good reason. So that's I wanted to mention that. So now let's jump into our skin health and acne and all other problems. And well, first of all, I want to really people understand that puberty is a wonderful timing, and most girls are afraid of, or not being educated, or think it's like a certain curse or something. But actually puberty is a part of growing and becoming a woman, and it's absolutely incredible because this is the time the body learns how to regenerate, how to cleanse and remove garbage out of the system. So whenever we stuck with the problems like acne, let's say over the face, what's the first symptoms? So basically it shows you that you have so much toxicity inside your body. So when you are now starting with this puberty signs, and then you see some sort of a symptoms, that's basically a blessing, because that shows you that you are gathering something in your system that should not be there. So I would like to address that problem. And what is it? It always starts by me by cleaning the bowels. It always starts with me also by adding just good minerals into their diet, and obviously wonderful herbs to help to clean the blood out and remove the toxic. And obviously the hygienes. And what I found that the girls are too like when they go through the season, there's something happens in the mind, and the girls will either want to be too clean, so they scrub their face all the time, and there is not a buildup of a good bacteria, which is a very big problem, because when you do that, you all the time reintroduce bad guys and keep the skin from, I would say, like you don't give enough time for the skin to rebuild. This is from one side. Then there is a girls who actually don't touch the skin because they are afraid to touch, because if they when they touch, then they have more pimples coming up. Well, that's another way just to show you that we looking always for some sort of a balance, and you do need to have a clean hygiene when you detoxify your skin, but not every day, let's say, but at least twice a week you do a clay mask that will help you to clear out the toxins out there in your face. And remember, it's not only your face that is a problem, it's as internally. So take the bowel food formula, make sure that your bowels are clean. Especially girls, they don't go to the bathroom. So when they don't go, they basically keep the garbage can inside their stomachs. And it doesn't care. I don't care. You can be the skinniest. You still can hold up to 20 pounds of the garbage in your system. So obviously it will show up through your skin. Then I would suggest stop with this, crazy dieting, because the girls also trying to feed these models that they see on the covers of the magazines or stuff like that. And we live in such a society that they will, or you have to look in a certain way. So the girls don't eat anything, or if they eat, they're already crappy food, because this is like they're looking for the quick fix, because they still need to be living. And so I would suggest addressing the diet and stop dieting. And what I found that the girls who are really dieting, or either they really starve themselves almost to death, and this is a big problem. And then you also see the acne come, because that's a hormonal imbalance as well. So we have to bring the girls to balance, and I do think it's education is the one that matters. And the tea that I would suggest is a bardock root tea. The bardock root tea is very good for the skin cleanse, and it really helps to remove any sort of a skin problems when we are dealing with the issues. And another herb is yarrow. I found the yarrow works also wonderfully. So I think in combination with what Sarah said, with raspberry, and also in combination with the yarrow tea and bardock root, you can really create a wonderful healing, because now you're providing a nourishment. Then you also help to clean and remove the junk out of your system. And then yarrow is also absolutely beautiful tonic. And helps with excessive bleeding and stuff like that as well, right? So in combination, those herbs are wonderful. And what other things and stay away from toxic stuff on your face, because when you're really trying to figure out what's happening on your face, the problem is in your stomach. So remember that. And I've had thousands of cases of young girls who have like horrible acne. The first thing I ask them, do you move your bowels? And always the question is no. So yeah, so that's the problem. And yeah, I mean, there's so much we can really dive into it, like
No, but I think that's a great start. So number
yes, the
one,
great start is don't do too crazy, not to
don't go too
dieting.
much, diet
Yeah.
properly, make sure you're moving your bowels. Don't cake on makeup if you have acne, obviously,
Yes.
but people's self-consciousness because of how women are portrayed nowadays, not just nowadays, just period, but now they're idolized and made into these goddesses that have zero blemishes. In most cases, it's filters or photoshopping or whatever. Just be true to yourself, be happy with yourself, take care of yourself internally, and you'll shine externally, right? That's like
Exactly.
our
That's
number
the
one
main thing.
motto.
Yeah. You
Is
see how the girls, once they really take care of their bowels, I would say like 50% of their pimples are going away. This
Right.
is how really crucial it is. So you and I want people to remember this forever. As soon you see something on your face, look inside your stomach. There's
A question for
so
you now, burdock root and yarrow. Like, could you? We showcased last week on how to make a proper medicinal tea. Is that something that you can also use to wash your face, or just take internally?
I mean, you can wash your face. I've never done it. Sarah,
I
did you
know.
done it?
Have
The
you
face
done
wash
that,
with
Sarah?
burdock root? With
Wash your
burdock
face
root?
with burdock root? Sure, why not?
Right?
I
I
mean,
mean, I
I've seen
haven't.
with yarrow.
Have I put
Yarrow,
it in
yes, but
powders
I
before?
didn't.
No, I mean, when I make like a topical for acne, I have this acne mask that I make, and it has some activated charcoal. It has um a little bit of clay. What else do I put in there? Not burdock, but I wouldn't be opposed to that. I mean, burdock is nice. It's a sweet-ish root, very earthy. Probably a few tannins in it that might help. But I would use it
Right.
internally more than externally, just because it
Yeah.
improves the liver.
Just throwing it out there, but
Oh, but
it's
you could
all
certainly, what would be
you could
really
try,
cool is do it in
right?
like an apple cider vinegar spray as like a toner. Do the burdock root in there? Why not?
Right?
Possible. I
Okay.
mean,
I
people
mean,
can play
it's
around, you
endless.
know?
Yeah.
I think I've just sparked something in both of you. You're like, I'm gonna go try a
A little
burdock.
bit in your mouth, a little bit on your face.
Yeah, exactly. Don't, I mean, unless you're not opposed to the vinegar straight in the mouth, which I'm not, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I mean, that's
okay,
really
so
cool.
let's talk about, PMS, right? These hormonal mood swings that come with having your period for some women, or especially you see it in young, girls, teenagers. How do you combat some of those things? Obviously, it's a lot of emotional um, and mental work that needs to be done, and that's up to the person themselves. But there are definitely herbs to help alter or help with it, combat those huge hormonal swings that we all share sometimes. But why do we get that? Is it a sign of something good or bad? And what are some herbs you would suggest, Sarah, in order to help with that?
Well, I do think it's a sign of something that's imbalanced. Uh,
Right.
as it's said, women should go through their cycles without really knowing that they're coming, even though they understand the timing of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, PMS is normalized, and it really is a sign of imbalance.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's, first and foremost starts with what you eat. So typically what happens with the progesterone and estrogen is that the estrogen takes a dive and the progesterone comes
Right.
up, right? It really rises pretty quickly. And that's usually why you get these hormonal
Swings.
manifestations of things like PMS or
Right.
pimples or mood swings or food cravings. And a lot of it is about estrogen dominance. So people may or may not have heard about estrogen dominance before, but because we have so many xenoestrogens, which are plastics and herbicides and pesticides and all the sides, and so our bodies, many people's bodies tend to be estrogen dominant. Plus, if you're overweight, your fat cells can make estrogen. If you're eating too much sugar, and that can cause issues as well. So I would actually be using not only red raspberry leaf, but I love to use that and chase tree berry together. Now,
Chase, I'm sorry, what is it?
called chase tree berry.
Chase tree berry. Okay.
It's Vitex is its scientific name. We go by chase tree berry, and that is a berry that helps balance estrogen and progesterone in the body. So that's really going to support exactly what's going on. And I see this a lot, more than not. It's estrogen dominance that causes the PMS. So I'm using chase tree berry to help balance that out. We're supporting the liver with burdock and dandelion. We're eating healthy food, drinking lots of water, and obviously moving the bowels, moving the gallbladder. I really like to support the process with like a digestive bitter, which is an apple cider vinegar based bitter spray that will move the liver and move the bowel and really kind of address the estrogen dominance in several different ways. Certainly eating foods like sauerkraut, real fermented vegetables, in particular sauerkraut, which is cabbage and other cruciferous vegetables that will help clear out extra estrogen and hormones in the body. So again, supporting that process in the liver. And I oftentimes will blend, like I have a female balance blend. So I'm using chaste berry, red raspberry, burdock and dandelion. And I like to put in some herbs for stress because stress is a big component to all of this as well. And I find some of the type A personalities, the go-getters, the very regimented people, that tend to have a lot of the PMS symptoms, and they are progesterone deficient, and they certainly need help with stress. And so it's like,
Right.
so you can really use herbs and blends are really nice because you can address a lot of different issues. But specifically for the PMS is chaste berry is by far my favorite one. And it
Would
really
you
works.
drink it just prior to your cycle
Well,
or
it really,
something?
yeah, but it depends on what's going on with that person. Like if their cycles are so off, I'm having them drink it every day.
Right.
If I've had people where they're just like, right up and I'm fine up until the day I start, and then I'm like, well, let's do chaste berry and red raspberry during your cycle. And that has helped people. So it really is case by case.
Right.
But if you're having consistent problems every month, then we're putting you on a tea for every day.
Until you see a change, at which point you stop, or you so slowly reduce the tea, or
Yeah, I mean, I actually love to be able to not have to have an intervention. I mean,
right.
no
Because
intervention
eventually
required.
your body should be able to regulate itself once you teach it again how to do so. Right? That's
And
the
eat
power of
well.
herbs.
Right. And it really starts with eating well. So
Right.
most of the time, when someone's got the PMS and the pimples and the mood swings, their diet totally just stinks.
Sucks. Yeah.
They're following their cravings, they're eating all the sugar. And I think a lot of people just don't understand what it is to eat well.
And that those are a
Well,
lot of signs of
I
being
bought,
deficient,
so I,
right?
what was that?
Cravings, like I said, cravings like that, those are big signs of having a lot of deficiencies.
It can be, but honestly, it's like it's really just the yeast talking in you, and you're just wanting the sugar. And they'll be like, "Well, I buy organic crackers, so that should be fine." It's like, no,
Right.
junk food is junk food. I don't care if it's organic or not. So instead of reaching for the cheese and crackers, I would say
Right.
eat an apple, have a pear, eat some
Right.
watermelon.
And as parents,
And
it's
have some.
really our job in order to set that standard for our children, because most of these young girls, they don't go out grocery shopping on their own. And so most, not all, but most of these young women or girls, really, because we're talking about early signs of puberty. And so, especially since they're getting it so young nowadays, you're not going to see a fifth grader go to the supermarket and get things for her that are better for her health. So it's up to these parents. If you want to set your child up for a better future, which is what we're, striving on teaching people to do, it's a matter of you taking it into your own hands. Start purchasing better foods. We spoke before about, even if it's starting once a week to cook a proper meal and slowly getting into it, doing prep so that it's not so difficult, so that you get more used to it, or getting your children involved in making these things and making better choices, speaking to them, teaching them what you're learning in order to set them up for a better life, whether it be, girls or boys or whatever the case might be. Right now we're speaking about girls specifically, but having normal periods or having balanced hormones leads to being more fertile in the future,
And I just want to
etc.
add too, it's like, I just don't think people understand what it means to eat well.
Right.
I really don't. And as much as I am excited about Maha and eating healthy and being healthy, they're talking about putting healthy things in Fruit Loops. So let's be honest with ourselves. Stop eating
Right.
freaking Fruit Loops. Don't buy that crap. Just don't buy it. You know, that's
Yeah.
not eating healthy just because it's colored with fruit juice. Stop
Yeah.
feeding your kids that stuff.
Okay.
You
We
know,
don't
eat
have it at
whole.
home at all.
No, I
Yeah.
don't
We
buy
just,
that
nope,
crap.
sorry.
I never bought that crap. And it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you can't have that stuff sometimes, but it shouldn't be in your house to have for breakfast every day, honestly.
Right.
Way too much sugar and fruit juice sweetened or not, it's just teaching your kids to eat something sweet all the time every day. And then you're setting them up for insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes down the line. So eating well means have fruits and veggies a day, a nice, good quality protein. And I don't care if you're a vegetarian or not, but you need protein. Um, and the stuff you get from animals that you don't get anywhere else. So that's just the reality. So if you're a vegetarian, you need to worry, supplement with like a B12 supplement or something like that. But and then eat your fat, eat fat. And so low fat diets don't support your hormonal system in your body. So I mean, these are basic things that I think people just don't understand. And
Right.
it's like it's part of our job not only to just show them the herbs and how they can find balance with those, but it always starts with what you put in your mouth. And kids these days, I mean, you know, most kids eat like crap. They just don't.
Almost all of them do, really.
Yeah.
And and it's one thing in particular to just have the easy way out and pouring them a bowl of cereal, of them being able to do it on their own. But it's another thing when you have to deal with all these diseases that come with it, and it's just really not worth it. So taking that extra minute to go buy a good source of eggs, or give
Eggs
them
and fruit
some
and toast
cottage,
is wonderful. Yeah.
yeah, cottage cheese, avocados, vegetables in the
Yes.
morning. I mean, my kids come to school, and some of them depends on what ages, they're provided like a breakfast or a snack. And I always hear from the teachers, like, your kids don't eat. And I'm like, because they eat
I
like
don't like
champions
that.
at home. No, they eat like champions in the morning.
Oh, I
Okay.
see.
Like, you have a full gourmet breakfast in my house, because it means so much to me that I know that they're full and they're not eating the garbage that's provided to them throughout the day, because their body has absorbed all of that beautiful food and that was nutritious for them in the morning, that they don't need to constantly eat snacks and they don't need the garbage that's
Right.
provided. And then they look at their friends and they're eating candy bars for snacks. And
That's not a snack.
no,
It's
and
not a
my
snack.
kids have a nice huge fruit tray with, like this beautiful box with all these types of fruits or whatever. And sometimes the other
Awesome.
kids are like, I'll give you my snack if you give me some peaches or whatever. And I'm like, you see, yeah. So these kids, they want good food.
I have
It's up
so
to
many
us
stories about that. I have so many
they,
stories. I don't
yeah,
mean to
they,
take, I mean, food is my passion. I don't mean to interrupt you, but, and I'm sorry, Hava, I know you want to talk, but
No, all
food is
perfect.
like one of these things that I was looked down upon because I fed my kids good food. Can you believe that? People would, I mean,
yeah,
they were just like, "Oh, you're not going to let your child they're two. What the do they know? They don't understand between a strawberry and strawberry ice cream. Give them a strawberry. People just think you're torturing your child by not giving them sugar all the time.
right,
It's sad. And no, candy bars aren't snacks, cookies aren't snacks. An
right.
apple is a snack.
And it's okay to, like you said, it's okay to give that to them, right? When we go on vacation and they're at like a breakfast buffet or whatever in a hotel and they want a bowl of cereal, we're not on vacation every day. And if they want ice cream, they're getting the ice cream. And if they want, you can't just say no, 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 because you don't want them to go against it. But you also tell them, not right now, because XYZ. This is what's in this. Let me teach you what it's doing to your body. After that, you go ahead and decide whatever you want to do, and I'm going to respect it.
Yeah.
But teach them so that they can make those decisions on their own. And they're more likely, because they know the outcome of whatever they put into their body, how it works,
And
how
how
the
it makes
body
them feel. Yeah.
exactly how the body's processing it, what's going to be the outcome. You will be so surprised that even a 3-year-old will tell you, I don't want it because it's not good for me. Right? So we
You
must
know,
teach our children.
I'll add this, all these influencers that we have now on YouTube and all other social medias, and they're getting so much attention. And they basically grew up by taking you to their Whole Foods or to the market and which ingredient is healthier, you know. And sometimes I'm just laughing. Don't even show this. Just don't go there. Go straight to
Yeah,
the fruits and vegetables, and that's it.
Exactly.
Don't show me what are the other stuff, because when you basically, okay, so there's a junky cereal and healthy cereal. You know, cereal is a
It's
processed
cereal.
food. End of the story. So let's cut the crap quickly and don't even walk on this aisle. And
right.
because you're not so what then what should I give my child? Oh my gosh, you make homemade granola. How long does it take? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, but done. You can prepare a whole batch and you have it at home. Then the same thing can come, let's say, to the pancakes. Why to buy organic prepared pancake mix? Oh, this is much better, because look at it. Like, no, this is a crap. This it comes from, even if it's organic, it's still prepackaged from the large company. It does not contain. You know what? Go home and prepare like a big plastic and put in like a container, let's say, and put inside the organic freshly milled flour. Let's say, okay, I cannot get okay, so local farmer that mills for you, or something that just put some effort and some organic sugar and some base, and that's it, and you have a pancake mix at home that you made it. So that's the idea that I always try to teach everyone. Stop, there's nothing what to do, no crackers, no cookies. But people are afraid that, then what should I eat? You eat your homemade food. You still can have a delicious muffins, but it's your homemade muffins because you know what you put inside. So that's the idea, is to stop looking what should I buy from the store, but really in the store is the place that you buy a basics. Oil, let's say, flour, sugar, like stuff that you cannot buy. And that's it. There's nothing else what you can buy there.
Right.
And that's the whole idea.
Yeah.
And those influencers, trying to push this cereal, that
Yeah, or
cereal, it's
those
still
apps
crappy
where you
cereal.
scan in the ingredients. I was told there's like, where you scan the product and it tell you,
Yeah.
is it
That's
approved or
also,
not approved? Whatever, at least people are making the effort into learning that there's certain things that are extremely bad for you, but then right, we want to get them to the next step. We want them to be able to provide for themselves all these things. It's like during COVID, everybody was like in love with making sourdough bread. COVID ended,
No, what was
that went out the window. Everybody started buying their garbage bread again, or whatever the case might be. But listen, it takes a lot to be able to do something like that. The fact that you were able to do it, why not now try to make actual food for yourself?
Right.
Right?
right.
It may not taste great at first, but practice makes perfect, right? Especially with cooking. The more you cook, the better you become at it. And
And
I
for
think,
inspiration, I go on like YouTube or cooking shows, and I go to
oh,
like,
I lived
easy,
off of the
healthy
Food
meals.
Network.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I've been into Jamie Oliver lately, and he's just got like a ton of shows that like, or, Rachel Ray, 30-minute meals. I mean, it's kind of inspirational, but Jamie Oliver cooks with like whole food stuff. You got a meal in like 20 minutes, with adding a little bit of prep onto that. It's like people say they don't have time to cook. Well, it's because they're not putting the effort into it at all.
Right. I agree. I agree with that. Give me an hour and I can cook for 50 people, but that's because I've practiced and I know how to chop quickly and do things and sear and have multiple pots going. But I didn't start out that way. When
Right.
I first got married, like everything was a fail. I knew a lot about food. I come from a background of chefs, like my great grandmother, my grandmother, everybody in my mom's family had restaurants. So, like,
Oh,
we
awesome.
love food. But when I realized how bad the food, not bad, it was delicious, but the oils and the salt and I come from a Moroccan background. And so all of that saturated fat and all that garbage that I loved so much for years. And when I stopped eating it the way that they prepared it and prepared it in a more wholesome state with good quality oils, good quality vegetables, good quality, it tasted better, if not the same, right? Because you always try to make grandma's recipe the same. But to me, it tasted better because the quality of the food in which I was using was so much higher in a standard that the food tasted better. And it was so much, it made me feel good. It was better for me. It tasted better. And I saw results in my body. And let's go back to puberty. I know we went a little bit off.
Exactly.
We
Yes.
went a little bit off topic, but it really has to do with it, right? Because we mentioned that the body during the process of having your period, the woman's body does magical things. We cleanse, right? We have this beautiful ability once a month to cleanse toxins from our body, as well as other things, and that's in the process of having your period. And if you are hormonally imbalanced and things aren't working properly, then sometimes things clog, like your lymph nodes are, not properly, you're not letting toxins out properly and whatnot. So what are some suggestions that, you know what? No, I want to ask something totally different, right? That we have now so many different types of ways to help with periods, like pads, tampons, menstrual cups, all that fun stuff. For years we were putting things that were toxic in our bodies while we were detoxifying, like tampons that were heavily scented and had chemicals and whatever, and there was no regulations. What are some of your suggestions? Like, how should I go about, like, okay, I get my period now, what should I do, Kava? Like, what should I use? What products should I use in order to help with that?
Well, listen, I strongly suggest to use organic cotton pads and do not use any tampons and stuff like that, because I know many people might think that it's crazy, but I do find it's very important, because in the time that, as you mentioned, the body is cleansing and removing garbage out of your system, and let's say you have a tampon up there, and the tampon actually what makes you is to don't feel that you need the urge to change, let's say, or stuff like that. So you basically end up going with the same tampon sometimes for a couple hours, 6, 7, 8 hours, and this is toxic matter that builds up in there, causing a lot of problems. So I would never suggest anything that needs to be put in. I'm classical, regular, organic cotton pads is the way to go, and that's what I would
So
suggest
no
to
menstrual
everyone.
cup either. You don't suggest a menstrual
I'm
cup.
old school. I don't know. I mean, I actually grew up in Georgia, and we didn't even had a luxury of pads. And I would make it my own with a cheesecloth, and I would prepare it and sew it myself and wash it by hand. So I do remember those times, and I'm grateful that now we have actually this luxury where we can go and buy organic cotton pants and make sure that
Yeah,
it's unscented, and you change them frequently. That's very
right.
important, because many do forget, and they're not even just tampons, but you need to change after each time you go to the bathroom. It's very important. It's also important to wash the area very well, and obviously tap dry, so that way the fungi will not build in there. But the idea is to keep the area very clean. It's very important, and I do really want to
Right.
educate
One
young
big
girls
warning
specifically
sign
about
on
that.
tampons, one big warning sign on tampon boxes is toxic shock syndrome. And people, like we said, your body is secreting all these toxins and then you're soaking it up with the tampon. And if you keep it in there for long hours, your body can actually go into shock from the toxicity. So imagine the things that are coming out of your body and then we're just keeping it there. So I
That's,
also highly
that's
recommend a pad. Sarah, what are your thoughts?
I agree with all that. It's an out time, so
Right.
I'm old school too, and I don't know really much about the cups and all the different paraphernalia that's going around. I'm not sure I understand that.
Yeah,
But just keep it simple. And I agree with, everything Hava said. I don't
yeah.
really have else to
You
add
know,
to that.
there's a time and place for everything. There's some times where you may need, you're going to an event, whatever. We're not suggesting that you never put it in because you don't know. But if you are, it's not to be kept in for long hours. Try to change as frequently as possible. Try to use the ones that you don't insert on your own because of all the bacteria that may be on your hands. People don't wash their hands before they do that. I don't get it. You know, if I'm going to the bathroom and I'm out and about, I wash my hands before I go into the bathroom and after I leave the bathroom. So hygiene's girls, hygiene's, right? You're at school, you need to go to the restroom to change yourself. Wash your hands before and wash your hands after. It's okay. Nothing's going to happen. If you're extra hygienic, something could happen if you're not taking the extra precaution, right? Because we're highly sensitive during that time. Our bodies are really sensitive. And they're exuding we're taking out a lot of toxins and out of our body. We don't want to add any more to them that are unnecessary. What are some other things you ladies would like to discuss in terms of puberty?
Amazing. I prepared here a hot bottle here because there's
Right,
something that we do.
cramping. Hello, I
That's
forgot.
exactly what I was thinking about,
Yeah,
and I said that like, we here giving such a beautiful suggestions through diet, through herbs, but when really many girls are suffering that it's a heavy cramping and a pain,
right,
and Sarah has suggested already an amazing herb that should be taken. I would add into a few more other things. So I would add hot bottle, and I do think there should be no home that does not have a hot bottle, and you should have at least 2 or 3 different hot bottles. And you should
right,
also have an electric one, and because they are will always will come very handy in many problems, from back pain to cramping to cough and other issues. So it's very important, and you can buy this on Amazon. So I would like to share how to treat whenever the girls are going through cramping and they're going through pain. So usually I suggest to drink a ginger tea, which really helps to open up while you are cramping and you're in pain and suffering. Do not take Advil and do not take any pain medications, because that actually puts more pressure on your liver, on your kidney, causing then next month having the same issue. You don't want this issue, so you do everything we mentioned up until now. But the idea is once you're cramping, you should sip on a ginger tea. That really helps to expand. And then I would usually suggest to apply a hot bottle over the abdomen or lower abdomen. And it really helps with the cramping pain. And then I suggest to put cold towel over the head. And what it does, it creates hot and cold. So this is a hydrotherapy tricks that are very helpful, not only in cramping, but in headaches and stuff like that. But I really want you to learn. Have a hot bottle, sip on ginger tea, and apply cold over your head. Then you can actually switch around. You can put hot over your head and then put cold over your lower abdomen, and then play around. And you can do this 3 or 4 times. Now, how long? I would not suggest to keep cold over abdomen for a long time. I would say maybe a couple. I would say like maybe a minute, but not more, because you don't want to really keep too cold, because in cold you actually shrink,
contract.
and that's
Yeah.
we don't want. That's why we drink ginger tea, to open up. But when you do hot and cold combination, you actually really help with pain. So that should be your way when you are suffering from cramping. And there's also cramp bark, if I'm not mistaken, that we give sometimes in some severe cases as well. So the cranberry bark can be taken in tincture form. You should have it. And if you see that you're really suffering, there is a solutions. Do not go and straight take a medicine. Okay. So
Right.
that's very important. And I've seen so many girls being helped with this trick by hot and cold, that it's just absolutely incredible. So I want to have everyone this knowledge. And
It's also something that red raspberry leaf can help you avoid if you're drinking it regularly
correct.
throughout the month or whatever, right? That's something that doesn't always happen if you are drinking it, the cramping. And a lot of women receive cramping in the back that's extremely severe. It's just a little bit of a window to pregnancy and labor and what you're going to incur in labor, because it's pretty much like a little bit of a foreshadowing, I think. I used to get very, very bad cramping in the front and in my back when I was um,
I
on
also
my
brought
period.
Epsom salt to show you that you can take a bath with it, because we
Yeah.
all like salt so much. So why not to put 1 cup or 2 cups in the bath and even put a little clay in there and help your body? There's so much more you can do instead hopping those medications, because like I hear this all the time, especially in close communities, when I hear I hear over and over the story of the girls, and guess what, when they're taking so much through, let's say, a year or 2 years, they're hopping this medication to suppress the pain. Guess what happens later? Then there is a much more worse problems. Then it comes to the mood swings, because the body, as I said before, it's a self-healing machine. If the body tells you there is something wrong, you should not ignore it and just take a medicine and forget about it, but really help it to heal.
Right.
Because if not, it will come up from some other place, and then we see, and the crazy, Sarah, remember you mentioned this, like the beautiful dance between estrogen and progesterone. Okay. And what we do now is the girls are suffering from the pain, and hopefully they will be able to listen to our beautiful podcast, but they go to the doctors, and doctors prescribe them medication, and in most cases, what is this?
Birth
This
control.
is the
Birth control.
birth controls. And what the birth controls do, they actually
Screws you
ruin
up.
this beautiful dance of progesterone and estrogen, and then estrogen shoots up high all the time, and then we have other issues. So that's basically
Yeah.
like you're trying to treat one problem when you're harming the, like, it's
You get
such
another
a
20
huge.
by taking a medication that's yeah, I was one of those children that got my period very young, and that was because of a lot of reasons. We mentioned some of them, and I got it when I was 10 years old. By the age of 15, or maybe even before, I was put on birth control to regulate and to help and whatever. And it did not help. It caused a lot more issues. And I always say thank God that I was actually able to have children because of how many years I was on that thing. And we don't want our kids to have that problem, once they become sexually active. Nowadays, they're teaching in schools, especially about California. I don't even want to get into that, but sex ed classes that should be a sacred, safe place for children to learn about a lot of things has been extremely tainted. And so it's your job as a parent to talk about the birds and the bees and do it in the most educated way, and don't shy away from the subject, and teach them properly, because in school they are teaching them some pretty crazy things, from what I heard and understand nowadays. And so avoid medications, avoid the Motrin when you're cramping, avoid all these things. We talked about some things. I'm going to go over them. Nutrition, good food. What does good food mean? It doesn't mean that Fruit Loop with the fruit juice and for food coloring. It means real food, wholesome food. Do some cooking, do some proper shopping. Empty your bowels, clean your gut. We've talked about this so many times. And in women, one of the bigger side effects is hormone imbalance. So we want you to understand that you need to clean your stomach and clean your gut. Some herbs that we discussed: burdock root, yellow dock, right?
Yarrow.
Yarrow. Yeah. Burdock, yarrow, red
Raspberry.
raspberry leaf tea.
We
We
didn't say
love
nettles, but nettles are very good. They're full house of nourishment, which is very
Right. We
good.
talked
Nettle
about how
tea.
women, when they're pregnant, are extremely terrified of taking it, but we'll talk about fertility in our next podcast, so that women who are trying to get pregnant or are pregnant have no fear. We're going to discuss all those herbs that are not allowed by Google, but are definitely allowed for, you are allowed to take, and we encourage taking them. But yeah, I think everybody I think we had a great podcast
I
today.
just
I
have
don't
a
know if
couple
there's,
of
yeah,
final
please
thoughts.
add.
So there's just a few things about when young girls start puberty. It's really important for the parent to talk about the cycle and to
Right.
so they really understand what it like, how long it lasts, what phases are there, when you can get pregnant, if they're sexually active, usually by 15, they may or may not be. Talk about that kind of stuff, but really, really talk about the cycles. And there are a lot of apps that you can purchase. Now, I have an app, I think it's great. I'm not connected to the interwebs with it though. It's just on my phone with nothing else, so nobody else can see what's going on. But it's a nice visual for girls just starting out so they can understand when it's supposed to come, what's kind of normal, what's not. And that's just a really good conversation to have because there's a lot of times that I'm talking to 30-year-olds that they don't really understand what the luteal phase of their cycle is. Like, hello, that's basic stuff. And then I also want to just encourage I encourage my daughters, but others that, eat foods to build your blood because it's really easy for young girls to become deficient in iron or as we say, anemic. And especially if they're not eating well. So eat foods that build your blood. And of course, you mentioned nettles, which is an excellent one. And you happen to mention yellow dock by
I
accident.
know, which I was just
That is
about to say, that's
But
actually a
yellow
great
duck
herb
is very
that's a
good.
great
It's
herb
a
for iron.
for iron.
Yeah,
yep.
and it happens to be a very gentle laxative, so that's kind of something sometimes people need anyway, right? So building the blood with foods that are red. So eat your red foods and your purple foods
Beets, yeah.
um and even sometimes you'll have to take some kind of supplement if they're anemic. My girls take an iron supplement just because they were both a little anemic when we had our blood work done. So we're doing that for a while. And just those are my two final thoughts that we just didn't mention. So
I love
Right.
that you mentioned this learning and speaking about. See, I come from the family where, well, my mom passed away when I was very young, but my grandma, and because she comes like from very like I don't know,
Traditional.
or there was a just yeah, I don't know, like she would never speak about periods. Like there was something that like you're not allowed to speak, and not just that. Even if she would sense that I have my period, let's say, she would come. Don't come to the kitchen because I'm making like it's actually was something that like not good, it's something dirty, it's some, and in many people's that's actually what they transferred this to younger generation, like something that we should not speak about. This is not a good idea, this is something
Yeah,
you
people
and
get grossed out by it. Like
yeah, and
even
the girl
even
is
other
right.
girls, it's okay if I'm on my period. What's so gross about it? We all go through it. Or
Yeah, so
men or
this is
boys
a
that are like,
big
she's
problem.
on her period. We have to normalize it. It's something so normal, and it's actually such a wonderful blessing that our body gets to do something like this. And so we should normalize it. I totally agree. It shouldn't be
This
some
is
kind of
actually a
taboo.
wonderful book. I don't know, probably
oh
Sarah,
yeah, I've
this is
seen
a
that
very
before.
good
Yeah.
book, and it speaks about the puberty and speaks about the different flowers and different stages from pregnancy to. It's absolutely
Lovely.
incredible. So get your daughters a book, and
Yeah.
I mean, but it should be positive. That's what my
Right.
bottom line. What when you mentioned that, like exactly what I was thinking. It's about positivity. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong when the body cleansing. There's nothing
Right.
wrong when the body's do. But we really like build up this such a negative outlook to it, like something that I know cases where the women come and tell me we take a special medicine to keep away that we don't have a period for a whole
Oh my,
entire
I hate
year.
that. I hate that so much. Yeah.
So
Well,
that means you have this thought in your mind
Or
that there's
people going
something
on
disgusting.
vacation. I'm just gonna skip my period this month. What? No, don't skip your period. Go
Yeah.
on vacation. There's things that you can do in order to still enjoy the water or whatever it may be. You just have to like take precautions and learn these things, but do not skip your period. Your period comes for a reason every month. And if it doesn't come every month, learn your normal, right? Even women who get their period every other month or whatever, we'd love to help regulate you. And Chava and Sarah, you can visit their sites and book consultations with them, get them on phone calls to help you out. sarahsherbs.com and havawellness.com. But it is a new normal that you shouldn't go on vacation with your with your period. It's a new normal that periods are something that are tainted and shouldn't be spoken about. Well, it's not our normal here at Heal Yourself Naturally. Our normal is looking at it in the eye and discussing it, and we are all here for our viewers and people, and we want to keep teaching you, and we hope that you are learning something. And even if it's the smallest thing, like going out and getting an app, or talking to your kids today and seeing like, oh, are they getting these symptoms? Are they getting their period, or grandchildren, whatever it may be, speak to each other. Don't make it a stigma. It's okay to have these. See you all next time. Thank you so much.